Hey everybody, I'm excited to share my weekly progress on these guys. So I'm smiling because it went really well this week, and I'm kind of excited to share my process with you. So here we go. Here is where we left off last week, and I want to show you where I'm going next. This is my website and this is my portfolio page. And if you scroll down on the portfolio page, you will come to my quilt fabric clients. And there you will see the collection called Still Life that I created for P&B Textiles. It was my last collection with them. I'm sure at this moment you can probably still find fabrics from it. But as you can see, there's a panel and there are some blocks. And that means I have a bolt of each. And there are only so many panels you can make out of a bolt of panels. So, and blocks. So I am just going to play around with how can I use these blocks in a different way. And if you've been following me, you know I typically don't pre-plan where I'm going. So I don't really know where this is going to go. Right now, I'm isolating the flowers. Even though I love those leaves, I almost love the leaves more than the flowers. Don't tell them that. But so yeah, here we're isolated. And then of course, the obvious quilter thing to do would be to do a log cabin-y technique on this. So that's what I do. And I have all of those strips left from last week, and I will put a link to last week's video. So what I had done was cut the strips from fabric that has squares printed on it. And I had just cut a bunch of them and I still had a pile left. So this is what I'm using to do the wonky log cabin method of creating a quilt block here. And here I'm integrating some of that cherry wood fabric that I had mentioned in the previous video as well. This cherry wood fabric is new for me, and I have to say it adds a richness that I have never experienced before. I'm absolutely in love with it. Have you used cherry wood fabric? I know the company's been around for like 25 years, and I can't believe I've never used it until now. So I'm just finger pressing now, and then once I get one complete circle of strips, then I take it to the iron and press it, and then I add another row of strips, finger pressing as I go, and then press each ring as I finish each ring. So I changed threads, and I am having a tiny bit of tension realignment. But it took me a while to get that in balance. Have you created these kind of wonky log cabin blocks yourself? I'd be curious how many of you have done this. It's very, to me, it's very relaxing. You can't really do it wrong. And of course, I like that you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, at least the way I do it. So let me know how you do it. So at this point right here is kind of interesting because before I was taking a new strip for each side, and now I'm just using the same strip, which means that the fabric color from the square continues around the corner. And once I noticed that, and honestly, I may not have actually even noticed it yet, but at some point I noticed it and I continued to do it because I liked the result where the color wrapped around that corner. And this is a really good example. It's easy to see here with the gold. It makes the block look like it's much more um, much more work than it actually is because of the change of the print. Are you noticing there's a little frog in my voice? I'm getting over a bit of a cold. And here's an example of what those blocks look like. Here I've added one to the design wall, and here I've added the second one, which is the one we just looked at. I noticed this in my pile of unfinished projects and thought, hey, this might be able to work into this quilt somehow, but I wasn't sure, so I just pinned it to the wall. Here's another one of those wonky blocks in the more of the blues. So the next day I'm looking at more of these blocks thinking, what else can I do with these things? So I get out my 60-degree triangle ruler and start playing around with that, trying to imagine what would this look like if I sliced it and put it back together. I used to be a oh, what was that called? Stack and whack. I was a stack and whack addict for many years. So I have a love of the 30 or the 60-degree triangles from days gone by. When I think about it now, the quilting in itself I find a bit addictive, you know, as I do embroidery, knitting, crochet, any of those. But um, stack and whack was a whole new level because if you've been following me at all, you know I love processes that are unexpected, where the art kind of takes control and you are the hands, right? You're not the brains. So stack and whack, I mean, it fulfilled that love in me like no other method. You never knew what you were going to get until you got it. And then you were like, ooh, ah, oh, wow. At least, at least I was. So if you remember these strips from the previous video, I was, had them radiating from her head. And now I'm thinking maybe they would work nicely in between these triangles. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to speed this up a little more for you, and we will fly through the process. So here I'm kind of randomly sewing the hunks that I chopped off earlier from the when I was creating the triangles. I'm re-sewing them back on to the top in a bit of a random way. Mainly I did this because those strips were long, and rather than cutting the strips down, I thought, well, let's just see if I make the other pieces bigger. So that's the madness behind the method. Or the method to my madness. I don't know. Well, here it is. Not in love with it, not sure how I would use it, but time will tell. That's better, I think. Okay, I have 3 of these left over, so might as well sew them together and see what happens. This time I'm not putting the strips of fabric in between. Can always make a table topper, right? Or a half a table topper. So now I'm thinking, that thing I always say you should avoid, but I'm thinking. And I do still have those strips. So this time I decide to do something different with them. I have to re-sew this first. For some reason I have a gap there. So Let's press that flat first. And sew a new seam. I'm going to speed this up a bit for you, and we'll see you when it slows down. Hey, by the way, did you know I was the author of a book, Quilter's Word Search? It's fun and it makes a great gift. I'll put the link here for you just in case you're interested. So here you can see I've tucked this section in up behind their heads. And after I looked at it, I thought, oh, it kind of looks like an arm as well. So I readjusted it and brought it down a little bit so it looks more like it's coming out of her shoulder instead of her ear. And I also flipped the bottom piece and it looks a little more like a skirt. I do kind of enjoy where this piece is going. I didn't anticipate it being a couple, and I kind of like that they're dancing, maybe. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're interested in taking my workshop on faces and figures, I will drop the link here at the end. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching to the very end, and I'll see you in the next video.